Hi all. Today let's see how we can do reactive programming in Angular using RxJS. What is meant by reactive programming? So it means basically our system will be reacting to different events or change in data and will be acting according to those particular changes. One of the central piece of reactive programming is the observable object. So observable is based mainly on the observer pattern in which we will be listening for any changes in data or any events and we will be acting accordingly. In case of Angular application, we make use of observable which is available within the RxJS library. So in this example, I am using an Angular 13 application and it basically consists of an app component. And here what we are doing is we are creating a new observable and we are assigning it to a private property called observable. The observable object basically accepts a parameter which is called as an observer or a subscriber. So in our scenario, we are generating a new subscriber by making use of a function called sequence subscriber. So this example I have taken from the Angular website. So one minor change I have made is that here we are creating a sequence and there are three entries in this particular array and I am making use of the math.random so that I will get a random number in each of this item in the sequence list. So once I generate that list, what I am doing is I am pushing the value from this array one by one into this observer. So an observer basically consists of three methods. One is the next, other is the complete, and another is the error. In order to push data to the subscribers, we can make use of the next method. So here what I am doing is I am pushing these entries one by one and I am doing it on an interval of 1 second. So once I have pushed all these data, I am completing the observable. So once we have created the observable, the simplest way to receive data from this observable is by making use of the subscribe method which is available within the observable, and to that we can pass an observer. So this is the simplest form of creating an observer. I am just logging the console and I am logging the value which I am receiving from the observable. So now when we run our application, you can see that it receives three random values, and once those values are received, our observable will be completed. The format which we saw for subscribing to an observable is the simplest format, which will contain only the handler to receive the next value. There is a much more complex format which I am showing here. To the subscribe method, basically you can pass an object. Within that, you can have three keys. That one is the next, in which you can pass the handler for handling the next value, the error key which will handle the errors in the observable, and the complete key which will have the handler for handling the completion of the observable. So here in the ng on init, I have added two subscriptions to the observable, and in the first one I have added all the three handlers, and in the second one I have added only the next and complete. Now when we run our application, you can see that in the ng on init we are executing our next handler. Similarly, we have the duplicate handler, and in the ng view init also we have the handler. The new values are received three times, and once it is done, we had written code to actually complete the observable. So you can see that in the ng on init parts where we have given the complete handler got executed. So similarly, in case I gave some error, and we can give an error message as well. In case we do that, you can see that the first subscriber, that is this subscriber where we had given the error handler, that gets executed, and we can see the message here. All other subscribers also errored out, but since we didn't give any handler, it will be throwing a uncaught error. One thing you would have noted is that even though we are subscribing to the same observable in multiple parts of our program, still the value that we receive for each of these subscriptions is totally different. This is something called unicast. So basically it means that whenever we subscribe to an observable, a new execution of the observable logic happens and we are receiving a new value. But this may not be feasible in all the cases. In some places, we might want to generate a single value and broadcast to all these subscriptions. So there is a process called multicasting. So let's see how we can do that. So I have created a new observable or a property called multicast, and I am creating a new observable with this particular function. So this function is also taken from the Angular website. So here what we are doing is we are again generating a sequence array with 3 randomly generated numbers. But here one thing we are doing is that each time we receive an observer, that is anytime we subscribe to this particular observable, the subscriber which we receive, we are pushing into an array called observers. So from there, whenever we push a new value through the next method, what we are doing is we are taking a single value and we are looping through this array and pushing the same value to all these observers. So this is called multicasting. So basically all the observers which are currently active at a particular point of time will be receiving the same data. Now let's see this in action. So what I am going to do is I am going to change the subscription. So instead of the observable, that is the unicast observable, I am going to subscribe to our multicast observable. Now you can see that whenever I emit a single random number, the same value will be sent to all the subscriptions. Similarly, when I emit a new value, that will be sent to the subscriptions. So this is called multicasting. In this example which we saw, for generating a multicast value, we had to go through so much trouble, like we had to track the observers and we need to manually push all these things. So RxJS actually provides a convenient method or convenient object called subject, which can be used for the same purpose. So now let's see how we can do that. So I am replacing our multicast property with a subject. I am creating an instance of a subject and I am saying that it will be emitting the type number. So basically, since I am emitting the math.random value, it will be a number. So other than this, in the after view unit, I am adding some logic to basically push some new value using the math.random, and once I push 3 values, I am clearing the timer. So you can see that the subject actually provides a method called next, which can be used for pushing new values to the subscribers. So now when we run the same code, you can see that each of the subscribers will receive the same value which we generate and the multicasting is working. So in this way, we will be easily able to achieve multicasting using the subject. One thing you need to be careful while working with subjects or any observables is that in case you do not properly implement them, it can cause memory leakage. So let's see how the memory leakage can occur. So here I have a hero service which has a subject or a property called leaker, which is basically a subject. Now I have a subcomponent which I am defining within our app component HTML. And if you go to our application, I have a toggle child button. Basically, when I click the toggle child, this particular child will be destroyed or created. So if you go to the subcomponent, you can see that when this particular component is initialized, what I am doing is that I am subscribing to the subject, that is the leaker which is present within the hero service, and I am adding a subscriber. Similarly, in the ng on init, I am pushing a new value using the math.random, and once we run our application, you can see that there is a random number that has been generated. The console message is displayed. So now let's see what happens when I click the toggle child. So basically, I am going to destroy the subcomponent. So nothing happened. Now when I try to recreate the subcomponent, you can see that actually two console messages are getting displayed. So what happened? Basically what happened is that subject to which we subscribed, actually that is still existing even though the component got destroyed. So this results in leakage of memory, and the next time a component is created, it will be adding a new subscription on top of the existing subscription. So once this ng on init gets executed and a new value is pushed to the subscribers, basically the current subscriber as well as the previous subscriber which we did not handle, they both will get executed. So similarly, if we keep on going, you can see that it is creating more and more memory leakage. So how we can handle this? So basically whenever we subscribe to an observable, we will be receiving something called a subscription. So here we can create a property which is a subscription type that is available from the RxJS, and we can basically assign this value which we receive from this subscription to this property, and when the component gets destroyed, we can unsubscribe from the subscription. So this is the method which we can use. So once we does this, what happens is that when the component gets destroyed, our subscription is also removed, and once we recreate the component, only the new subscription will be created. The new value will be available only for that particular subscriber. Now let's see which are some of the places in which Angular provides support for reactive programming using RxJS by default. One of the most commonly used property is the @output. So it is basically an event emitter. Like whenever the child component wants to communicate with the parent component, we will be making use of the @output. You will be familiar with this particular syntax. Like I can create a new output variable, and I am basically creating a new instance of the event emitter, and also I can provide the type of the data which I will be emitting. So if you inspect this event emitter closely, you can see that actually it is basically extending the subject from the RxJS. So whenever we call the emit method, what it does is basically it is emitting a new value which is similar to what we do in the subject.next method. So here in our example, I have created a click output variable, and I have created a handle click method which will be called when this particular button is getting clicked. When that button is clicked, I will be calling the handle click, and I will be emitting a value called click, which I will be listening in our parent, that's the app component HTML. That particular value I am accessing using the $event. This is basically similar to how we subscribe to an observable, and the particular value which got emitted we will be able to access within our parent component. Here I have added a print method where I am just logging the message which I got from the child component. So now when I click the click me button that is present within the subcomponent, the particular console will be shown within my app component. Another most commonly used use case is whenever we make use of an HTTP call to an API or server, we will be calling the HTTP get or post or whatever, and what this method returns is basically an observable. So here what we will be doing is we will be calling the API, and to that method we will be subscribing so that we will be able to get the value from the server. So here in my application, what I have done is I am making use of a in-memory service in order to retrieve this particular value when this particular API is getting called, and I can pass a search value based on which this particular data will be filtered. So here in my subcomponent I am passing the letter N. So basically all the names which have this particular letter, that is the N, those alone will be returned from the server. So here I am just consoling the value. Now when I execute the application, you can see that all the users which have the particular keyword, that is N, that will be returned. Similarly, in case I change something like nice, you can see that only that particular entry has been returned. So the HTTP call is one of the most common use cases for using an observable. So in the current example, you saw that the data which I am receiving, actually it has an ID as well as a name. So we can do any kind of processing on this particular data by making use of RxJS operators. So here in my hero service, basically whenever I receive an observable from the server, I can process that data by making use of something called pipe. So pipe is basically similar to the Unix pipe, where you can concatenate multiple process operators, and here what we are doing is we can add multiple RxJS operators within this pipe, and basically each of these operators will be taking one observable as an input. It will do its processing on that and it will generate a new observable which will be passed to the next operator. So basically if you give a comma, you can add the next operator and it will be processing that. So here in our example, what I am doing is I am adding a map operator and I am trying to extract the name alone from the array. So now you can see that when we run our application, only the name is present within our console list. Another feature that is available in Angular which can operate on observable is the async pipe. So here we had to actually subscribe to the hero service search method in order to console the values. So in case I needed to display those values directly to the HTML. So what I am going to do is I am creating a property called data, and whenever we usually terminate the property with the dollar symbol, it means that it is an observable. It is a common naming syntax. So here I have added that and I am assigning this particular observable directly to this data stream. And in my HTML, what I can do is I have added an ngFor and I am using this data observable, and I am saying that I am passing that data observable through an async pipe. So basically it will resolve that particular data which is a list, and we can iterate through each of the item within that list. When I execute the application, you can see that our user list is getting displayed here. So one advantage of using the async pipe is that we need not worry about handling the unsubscriptions of the observable, since it is automatically taken care by the async pipe. So since here it is a HTTP call, we need not worry because HTTP calls are basically called observables and they do not cause memory leakage. Another Angular feature where we have scope for reactive programming is the reactive forms. So here in my example, I have created a new form group which consists of a key or a control called search text, which is a new form control, and I am assigning initial value of empty. So this is the new form group, that is the hero form. So if you go to our HTML, you can see this is the form where I have given the form group, and within that there is a label called search text and an input box which is bound to the search text. So basically whenever I type some value, this search text will have the particular value. Now the reactive form basically provides something called value changes. So this is an observable. Once we get the search control, we can access the value changes property and then subscribe to that observable. So whenever a value is changed, we will be receiving the latest value within our subscriber. Here what I am doing is, whenever I receive a new value, I am passing that value to the search method within our hero service, and I am assigning that observable to the data observable. So what happens is, basically it will update the result in our DOM. Now let's see it in action. I am typing the letter N. So you can see that ideally our result get filtered by making use of the keyword N. Similarly, when I keep on typing, you can see that the codes are getting displayed within our console. So basically what happens is, each of these is an HTTP call. The problem with this approach is that whenever we make a key press, an HTTP call is being made. So in order to optimize this, what we can do is, in our subcomponent, before we subscribe to this observable, we can make use of the pipe which we saw earlier, and to that we can add something called debounce time. Here I am giving it 500. Now what happens is that when I type very fast, like I have typed the word nice, you can see that only a single API call has been made. This is because the debounce property will not allow sending the changes immediately to our subscriber, but only when a particular stable time period of 500 milliseconds has been reached. At that time only the value will be sent to a subscriber. So this is one operator which we can make use for delaying our API responses. I am having the value nice, and then suddenly I am deleting the E and I am typing E. So what happened is, again a search call went with nice. Ideally there is no need for this call because the value has not ideally changed. So in order to prevent that, we can add something called distinct until changed operator. As I previously mentioned, the pipe allows us to keep adding more operators so that each of this operator will be executed in a sequential manner whenever we subscribe to that particular observable. So in case we did not subscribe that, these operators will not do any action. Now when I try to delete and create, you can see that there is no API call being made. Another Angular feature where we make use of observable is the routing module. So here in our application, I have added two routes, that is route 1 and route 2, and I have added a router outlet. Within my subcomponent, what I am doing is, I am injecting the router, that's a service, and within that there is an observable called events. Basically we will be able to listen to any navigation or router events that happen, and we will be able to perform some actions. I am passing the observable to a pipe where I am making use of the filter operator in order to filter out a particular type of event, so which is the navigation start event. So there can be multiple types of navigation events. Here we are interested only in the navigation start. Filtered output we are assigning to the nav start, which is an observable, and we are subscribing to the nav start within our ngOnInit. So whenever a navigation change gets started, we will be logging a console. You can see our two routes here, route 1 and route 2. So currently it is in route 2. Now I am going to click on route 1. So you can see that the navigation started event got triggered and our subscription is hit. Similarly, when I navigate to the other route, it will display the same message. Another use case for reactive programming in routing is the activated route. So whenever a particular component which is linked to a route becomes active, we get the details in the activated route service. Within the activated route service, we have a property called URL, which is an observable, and we will be able to subscribe to that in order to get the details of the current route. So here within my route component, route 1 component and route 2 component, what I have done is I have injected the activated route and I am subscribing to the URL so that I will be able to see whenever the URL changes are triggered. So here again I am unsubscribing this because It can lead to memory leakage in case I do not unsubscribe. Currently the root 2 is active. I am clicking on root 1. You can see our navigation start event is consoled. Along with that, the URL change also is logged. So currently it is showing us the root 1. When I click root 2, the URL details get changed accordingly. Hope you are able to get a good idea about some of the places in Angular in which we can make use of reactive programming using RxJS. See you soon. Thank you.